Every professional knows this feeling, I think. It's the end of the quarter, the year-end crunch, and then suddenly all your work is under this, high-powered microscope.
Right.
It's this relentless cycle of KPIs, performance reviews, status reports. We're all being measured, but here's the big question, the one that can be kind of agonizing. Are those numbers actually measuring what matters?
That pressure for constant validation, it's just universal. It's what pushes so many teams toward vanity metrics and these quick win strategies that don't last.
Yeah.
And today's deep dive is really designed to pull us out of that cycle. We've been analyzing source material that looks way beyond those surface level statistics to explore this much deeper concept at the time of testing.
And our mission here is to really get at the difference between simple human validation, a thumbs up from your boss, and genuine high-level approval.
Exactly. We want to give you a shortcut to understanding what organizational fidelity really looks like.
And this isn't just theory, right? This applies whether you're leading a huge corporation, a nonprofit, or even just like a small tech team. We're trying to cut through all that noise of self-congratulation.
Well, the central idea comes from a really powerful concept. It's rooted in an ancient text, 2 Corinthians, that basically says true validation doesn't come from praising yourself.
Or even from others praising you.
Right. It comes from the highest authority, or, in modern terms, fidelity to the ultimate mission. The term the source uses for acceptance is, well, it's so much richer. It means being tested and approved.
Okay, that is an immediate and critical distinction. It's not just getting a gold star, it's more like passing a stress test. So when you say tested and approved, is this some future judgment, or is this happening like right now?
That's the key insight. I mean, while the ultimate value of our work will be revealed down the line, the source material is emphatic. Our work is subject to experimentation and examination in the here and now.
So the test is already underway.
The testing, the pressure, the examination, it's all happening in our daily operations.
Okay, let's unpack that. Let's jump right into it. If our mission, our whole organization is being tested right now, why? Why does that even happen? Why would the ultimate mission allow for these difficulties to come up?
Well, the material explains that the purpose of allowing difficulties is precisely so that organizations and ministries can be properly tested.
And therefore, genuinely acknowledged.
Exactly. I mean, if everything is easy, you never really prove the substance of your foundation, do you? Difficulties are the crucible. They reveal what's authentic and what's just superficial.
And the sources are so specific about the types of pressures that make up this test. It's almost like a 4-point crisis checklist. What are those core challenges?
They're surprisingly universal.
Okay.
The first one is financial losses.
Of course.
But this isn't just about a slow quarter. It's a test of integrity when capital dries up or a major client leaves. How do you behave when the whole foundation starts to shake? Do you compromise on your core values just to survive?
That's a huge one. It reveals priorities immediately. But financial pressure is, I guess, kind of predictable. What about more ideological tests?
That's the second challenge, the infiltration of false doctrines or teachings.
In a ministry, that's obvious. How does that translate to a regular company?
Think of it as a flawed or corrupted strategy worming its way into the mission. Maybe you adopt a short-term predatory business model that completely ruins your long-term reputation. If your core mission is service, and you pivot to exploitation for a quick profit, you failed that doctrine test.
That makes perfect sense. Bad strategy driven by greed. What's the third test?
The third test is all about leadership. Arrogant leaders seeking to manage and control the organization.
The internal power struggle.
Yes, when a leader prioritizes their own glory, or their title, or their ego over the actual mission, the entire organization gets tested. These internal battles, they create silos, they destroy morale, and they divert critical resources. The test is whether the structure can prioritize the mission over any single personality.
That feels like the toughest one to pass, honestly, because it's about human ego, internal politics. So what's the final challenge?
The inherent challenges of change.
Change itself.
Yes. Whether it's rapid market disruption, new regulations, technology, change is painful. And the test is resilience. Does the organization have the depth and the stability to absorb these major changes, pivot, and come out stronger? Or is the structure just too rigid, too hollow to survive?
That is a brutal list. And what's so fascinating is how the source shows two organizations can face the exact same crisis, but the results are just polar opposites. Can you explain those dual outcomes?
They are definitive. So on the negative side, some teams or companies, they face these trials and are just shattered, broken, because when the pressure hit, Their work wasn't genuinely
It
purposeful.
lacked that ethical depth.
Exactly. They were building on sand, and the storm just wiped them out.
But the positive result from the exact same stressor, that's where you see the power of purification.
Precisely. Others, despite facing the same financial losses or leadership fights, don't just survive. They actually grow stronger. They become, and this is crucial, more purified. The trial burns away all the dead weight, the bad strategies, the ethical compromises, and that purification just reinforces the real mission.
This whole process really differentiates the temporary from the enduring.
That's the perfect way to put it.
Which brings us to this inevitable tension. You know, we live in a world that demands documentation. My boss needs KPIs. We have to have reports. So how do we actually implement this idea of purification by trial without just ignoring the administrative reality we all live in?
That is the essential balance. Of
Okay.
course, organizations have to keep reports, financial statements, operational summaries, all of that. They're necessary tools for accountability.
Sure.
But the source issues this really sharp warning,
Which is?
not to fall into the trap of statistics. The number cannot be the sole standard for measuring service or success.
Okay, but hold on. Isn't that totally unrealistic in the modern corporate world? I mean, if my investors or the board or even the public only look at those quarterly numbers, how can a leader possibly afford to ignore them? They literally determine if you survive.
You're raising the core challenge. We're not saying ignore the data. We're saying recognize its limits. Statistics fail as the ultimate standard because every situation is unique. You just can't evaluate your department's success by comparing its results against a competitor's data points, not when that competitor has a different context, different resources, a different mission even.
Right, comparison drives compromise. If you adopt someone else's number as your goal, you're adopting a false standard.
Exactly. So if those external comparative statistics are a trap, what's the legitimate standard? What does the mission actually care about?
The true standard, then, must be internal.
It's internal, and it's focused entirely on fidelity to that mission. It's about operating within the scope of your plan and diligently executing your duties to bring glory to the ultimate objective. And the source identifies two internal metrics that often get overlooked by simple stats: diligence and growth.
Okay, let's break those down. When we talk about diligence, what does that look like in a concrete workplace setting, like in a marketing team or something?
Diligence is that persistent, high-quality effort, even when no one is giving you immediate praise. It's following through on the unglamorous tasks, maintaining integrity in every single interaction. It's making sure the method of the work is as high quality as the final result. That consistent daily labor counts for so much more than one flashy, short-lived win.
And growth. That's not just revenue or headcount, is it?
Not at all. Growth, in this context, is about systemic maturity. It's building capability, ensuring sustainability, purifying the process. Are your systems stronger? Are your people better prepared? Is the foundation more resilient? That is the real metric of growth, not just a bigger number.
That completely changes the calculation for your own professional confidence. If my focus is entirely on upholding that internal standard of diligence and growth, then the source gives a pretty powerful reassurance about external pushback, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
Hey.
If your whole motivation is the mission and you're operating with deep integrity, you neutralize the sting of malicious criticism.
Those petty political attacks from competitors or jealous colleagues, they just lose their power.
They do. Because your accountability is already settled. The material reinforces that if you must boast, it should only be directed toward the ultimate purpose, or as the text says, boasting in the ultimate authority.
Okay, let's make this as tangible as possible. We accept that accountability needs data, financials, reports, but we can't let the numbers become the master.
And the source recognizes this. It makes a parallel. Governments need data reports to manage safety and prevent fraud. Companies need KPIs. Accountability is mandatory everywhere. The danger is when the daily metric becomes the sole dictator of your behavior instead of just a tool for analysis.
And to illustrate this struggle, this fight between discouraging daily numbers and long-term purpose, the source gives this fantastic real-world example.
It does.
A ministry's content creation initiative, specifically their YouTube channel, which they launched in March 2025. It shows the struggle beautifully.
It's a perfect case study in what it calls glorious persistence. The team was committed to consistent output that was aligned with their mission. And the source is brutally honest. It admits that when they looked at the daily numbers for the channel, things like views, subscribers, the metrics were, and I quote, not pretty. They were just discouraging snapshots.
What kind of discouraging snapshots are we talking about? Like click-through rates below average, maybe sparse comments?
Exactly. Or worse, comparing your channel to one that suddenly spiked because of some sensationalist topic. If they had operated based only on the metric that said, this video got 50 views in 3 days, they would have been tempted to pivot.
To chase clicks.
To chase clicks, cut corners on quality, or just quit entirely.
Yeah.
Because the short-term data was screaming failure.
But that internal standard, the diligence and growth we talked about, it kept them focused. So what was the ultimate cumulative result that defied those depressing daily metrics?
By December 2025, in under a year, the total view count had exceeded 33,000.
Wow.
Which far surpassed their initial cautious expectations. The average daily view count was nearly 100, which, is not viral, but it represented consistent, purposeful engagement. And, most importantly, cumulative impact. The long view validated the mission.
And the effort required for this is just staggering. It speaks directly to that metric of diligence. The source says they were recording 3 to 4 different programs a day, offering 6 to 10 types of content. That is an immense output, driven purely by purpose, not by viral fame.
And that sustained output, maintaining that grueling schedule despite the bad daily numbers, is what the source powerfully terms the glorious persistence.
That's a great phrase.
It is. They were looking for praise from trending charts. They were focused on achieving the mission's objective. That persistence, driven by purpose over praise, is the ultimate measure.
That is a powerful roadmap for anyone running a marketing campaign or trying to scale a new product. Don't quit because Monday's numbers look bad. Stay focused on the cumulative impact of diligence.
Absolutely. So let's pivot to you, the person listening right now, navigating your own complex workplace. How do you apply this when your performance review is based on those KPIs?
Yeah, you can't just ignore those reviews. How do we meet the immediate requirements without compromising our long-term integrity?
The advice is really clear. Your immediate focus has to be on being a faithful servant. That means demonstrating quality character and applying diligent effort within the scope of your assigned duties. Meet the KPIs your boss requires, but always remember, the ultimate measure is the quality of the effort, not just the quantity of the result compared to someone else.
And what specific critical advice does the source give us about our professional conduct, our strategy?
2 things. First, don't pre-assume the limits of what you can achieve. Be led by your purpose and let the work guide the outcome. And second, and this is a vital warning for anyone on a team, do not let yourself be influenced by opportunistic or unethical colleagues.
The people who cut corners for a quick data spike.
Precisely. Or those who prioritize short-term numbers over long-term mission fidelity. Their trajectory is set for failure when the real test comes.
So we focus on being proactive, honest, ethical. It's about combining genuine character with wisdom in how we do our work, to positively influence our team and bring glory not to a number, but to the mission itself.
So, to synthesize the core finding of this whole deep dive, true validation is rooted in consistency, diligence, and purity of intent. It's a state you achieve by being tested through difficulty and succeeding. This is in stark contrast to the immediate, comparative, and often distracting measure of external statistics. That glorious persistence of consistent, purpose-driven action is the definitive proof of worthy work.
So here's the final thought we want to leave you with. If the testing process, whether it's financial austerity, an ethical compromise, or some huge structural disruption, is what ensures purity and strength, what critical, difficult evaluation is currently facing your organization or your team right now, and how are you making sure that your actions in that test lead toward genuine long-term purification and strengthening, rather than, being shattered into fragments? That's where true accountability lies.
Until next time, we hope you found the shortcut.
We'll see you on the next Deep Dive.